KPM.
Hello everyone, you are now watching Didik TV KPM. We are in the Pentaksiran Bilik Darjah slot. How exciting, isn't it? And my name is Hanif Sean, and I'm sure you're wondering, what are we going to learn together today in this slot of Pentaksiran Bilik Darjah? And who would be our teacher? I'm curious as well. Why not we take a look at her profile right now? Haha, we have already seen our teacher's profile today, but before I welcome her into the studio, let me introduce to you our sign language interpreter, which is teacher Kohila. How are you, teacher Kohila, today? Oh, she's feeling great, and I think teacher Kohila is also excited to learn. And of course, you have seen our teacher's profile, which is teacher Kohila. Hi, teacher Kohila.
Hello, Hanif.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. How about you?
I'm feeling great as well. I think we are all excited here. Teacher Kohila, in our PBD slot right now, share with us what are you going to teach us about?
Okay, today I'm going to teach about Pentaksiran Bilik Darjah, also known as classroom-based assessment in English for communication. So I'm going to explain about how to carry out PBD in the classroom and how to grade the students based on their levels.
Oh, that's very interesting. So we're going to learn about PBD in English for communication. Shall we start our lesson, teacher?
Sure.
Right.
Okay, so for today, I'm going to explain about Pentaksiran Bilik Darjah (PBD) dalam bahasa Inggeris komunikasi, Pendidikan Khas, also known as classroom-based assessment in English for communication, and I'll be focusing on special education. So first of all, I would like to show all of you the reference materials, okay? That's DSKP, Document Standard Curriculum and Pentaksiran. Okay, what is DSKP? DSKP is a syllabus containing the description of themes, language, skills, vocab, grammar, and structure used throughout the year. And of course, the textbook for Form 5, and this textbook is mainly for special education. And also followed by Panduan Pelaksanaan Pentaksiran Bilik Darjah. It's a guide on how to carry out PBD in the classroom. Okay, as we know, as all of us know, English is not a topical-based assessment. It's modular-based assessment. And we have 4 skills in language, be it in Bahasa or English. We have 4 skills, which is listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So for all these 4 skills, we have to determine the pupil's performance level and progress in each skill. So we have 6 levels, starting from level 1 to level 6. Okay, there are few ways to assess the students or methods to assess the student. Okay, the first method is oral assessment. Okay, how do we gather data from oral assessment? Any verbal responses from the students. It can be question and answer session. It can be from discussion, interviews, role play, presentation. We can gather those data to assess them. The second one is the written responses. So it can be essays, reports, presentation materials, any written responses from the students. We can actually use them to assess them. The third one is observation. What are we going to observe? Okay, we can observe the students' involvement in the classroom activities, in the group work. We can also observe their performance in the classroom, their attitude towards the other peers, and also support that they give to the others and the support that they get from the others as well. And also we have combination of more than one method of assessment here. Okay, there are few steps in PBD. Okay, starting from content standard. Content standard is a broad description or statement of what learners are expected to know at a particular level. Okay, first we need to identify the content standard, and under content standard there will be few learning standards. Okay, learning standard is detailed description of what is to be taught according to the skill. Okay. After identifying the learning standard, we can narrow it down to a learning outcome. What do you want the student to achieve for that particular lesson? Once we have identified content standard, learning standard and learning outcome, we can finally plan our activity or our lesson. Okay, after planning the activity, we will finally know what is the suitable assessment method to assess the students. And finally, once we are done with the assessment method, we can finally determine the students' performance level or mastery level of particular skill.
Right, that's very interesting, Teacher Kohila.
Yes.
I think that's a very comprehensive way of measuring, and we're looking at PBD, and as you mentioned, there are 4 different skills that we look at and assess at 6 different levels at various methods of assessment through PBD. I think that's very important for this lesson right now, and we're going to take a short break. Continue to stay with us because there's so much more that Teacher Kohila is going to share with us, so do not go anywhere. Stay tuned with us on Didik TV KPM. Hello everyone, you are now watching Didik TV KPM in the Pentaksiran Bilik Darjah PBD slot, and the topic today is very interesting, which is PBD in English for communication. With me is Teacher Kohila. Teacher Kohila, I think we have a very interesting topic today. Shall we continue with our lesson?
Yes, sure. Okay, so as I was telling earlier about DSKP, so this is taken from DSKP. So as I mentioned earlier, the content standard is a broader description of what you want the students to learn. So as you can see there, 2.1, you communicate information, ideas, opinion and feelings on familiar topic. And when you look at the learning standard, it is a more detailed description. Like for 2.1.1, you ask about and explain information from simple text. So this is just a sample for speaking skills. Okay, I have prepared a lesson to show how PBD can be carried out using this lesson. So I have prepared for Form 5, and the unit is for technological wonder, which is from Unit 4. Okay, I've got 2 learning standards here. So the first one is 2.1.1. You ask about and explain information from simple text. And you have 2.1.4. You express and respond to common feelings such as happiness, sadness, surprise and interest. Okay, based on this learning standard, I've come out with a suggested activity. So the first activity, we show pupils few pictures related to technology, and slowly you introduce the topic. So when you show the pictures, the students should be able to identify the pictures. So when they can't do that, you ask more questions. Okay, based on what you saw earlier, what is technology? Okay, just to let you all know, I would have given them the definition before asking them these questions. Okay, so the first question is based on what you saw earlier, what is technology? So in my classroom, some students seems to be passive. When they are passive, you should ask more questions because they don't tend to answer to your questions. So what you do, you ask, call out their names and ask them. Okay, some students, they can't define what technology is. So what do you do as a teacher? What do you do when your student can't define or find it difficult to define something or to answer to a certain question? You simplify the question, or you ask a few other similar questions to make them talk to you or answer to your question. So for example, the first question, based on what you saw earlier, what is technology? If they can't answer, you can help them by giving a different questions, like name the technologies you can find in the classroom now. So they may not be able to define what technology is, but that doesn't mean that they don't know what technology is. So they may come out with answers like fan, aircon, any other technology that they spot around them, or the technologies that they already know, like smartphones, watch, and all that. Okay, so now for this, the PBD data collection method that I have used is oral. Why? Because this is a Q&A session with my students. Okay, so I'm going to show you a video when with my students. When I ask them the first question, what is technology, you can see two different answers from two different students.
Computer, phone, and pet, gadget.
Gadgets, okay, good.
Technology is a innovation that makes our life more easy.
Easier. Okay, as you saw earlier, the two different answers. So when I asked what is technology, one student, he was able to answer what technology is. Another student, he didn't know how to define technology, but he knew what technology is. So he named few technologies that he knows, like gadget, smartphone, watch, and all that. So so this is the this method is sorry.
This method would be very interactive, I believe, Teacher Kohila?
Yes. This is how we assess orally by giving some question and answers with the students.
Right. I think it's a very interesting method that we're using here, and it's also interesting, as you mentioned, the different responses that we have from the two students here.
Correct, right.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So this is the slide that I was telling earlier. When you introduce the topic, you have few pictures for them to name, and then you also give them the definition. So when you give them the definition, make sure the text is not very long. For my students, they can't understand longer text. So I have to use a simpler text for them to understand and memorize. Like for example, technology is the use of knowledge to invent new devices or tools. The second one is technology makes our life easier. Okay, moving on. Okay, so for assessment, we can't assess a student based on just one activity or one lesson, as this is ongoing process. You have to assess them using few lessons or few activities. But this is based on standard 2.1.1, based on the activity that I have done. If let's say the student is in level 1, he or she will hardly answers to the question, and they need maximum support and help from the teacher. For example, when I ask what is technology, the student, they cannot give the answer. They will be looking at us. So you can ask few more other questions, like, can you spot any technologies around you? Do you know any other technologies? Can you name? You ask few questions, and even if he can't answer, you can ask for you can expect yes or no answers from him. Like, is fan a technology? Maybe he will answer yes. So that is how you assess particular student from level 1. Okay, so for level 2, they will be able to name few technologies, but with a lot of support and help from the teacher. For level 3, they will be able to identify and name technologies with little support from the teacher. So the second student that we saw earlier, he was able to identify and name the technologies, but with little support from the teacher. Okay, for level 4, the pupils will be able to define technology by giving example. And for level 5 and 6, they will be able to define and also give examples very well, very fluently. Okay. Okay, this is for the second activity. So for this, we are still in the same topic and same class. Okay, for the learning standard, we have 3 learning standards here. So you ask about and explain information from simple text. 2.1.3, you ask about, describe and give response to future plans or events. For 2.1.4, you express and respond to common feelings such as happiness, sadness, surprise and interest. So based on this learning standard, I have planned an activity, which is the students will be working in pairs. Pupils will use a bubble map. Okay, this activity I took from the textbook. Okay, with guided question to describe their mobile phone. For example, the color, the brand, and who bought the phone for them and their functions. And people will describe their mobile phone to the partner based on the bubble map. I would like to show you the picture. Okay, this is the bubble map as I mentioned earlier. Can you see they have the guided questions there? What is the color of your phone? Who bought it for you? And the brand of your phone, and why do you use the phone? What is the function of the phone? And pupils must be able to complete the bubble map in order to describe the mobile phone to the partners. Pupils should be given guided question. If no guided question given, they won't be able to talk or describe about their technology. Okay, this is for my third activity, same class, same unit. So the learning standard, we have 3 learning standards here. So 2.1.1, ask about and explain information from simple text. 2.1.3, you ask about, describe and give response to future plans or events. 2.1.4, you express, respond to common feelings such as happiness, sadness, surprise and interest. We are still using the same learning standards, but the activity, we will divide pupils into 2 groups, and people discuss and design what a future mobile phone might look like. But here, teacher should play a big role too. Teacher should provide clues on function and features. Like for example, what type of battery you want your future phone to have. Like, do you want a long-lasting battery, or do you want a solar system charging battery? You know, teacher should provide some clues on the functions. And finally, pupils may present their work. So for this activity, the PBD data collection method will be combination of written and also oral. Okay, this is the picture that I have taken from my classroom. So this is during their group work. Okay, this is the descriptors that I took from the GSKP. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a more general one. So for performance level 1, students can hardly communicate and gives information clearly. I mentioned this earlier. They can hardly express their opinions or feelings and hardly narrate short stories and events, even with a lot of support. Okay, for level 2, I have mentioned earlier too. So they display a very limited ability to communicate and give information clearly. The level 3, they display limited ability, but they provide a limited response in expressing opinion or feelings and in narrating short stories and events with support from the other teachers. For level 4, the student displays adequate ability to communicate and gives information clearly. The student also provides satisfactory response in expressing opinions or feelings and in narrating short stories or events. For level 5, as you can see there, the students, the pupils, they display good ability to communicate and give information clearly. The pupil provide good response in expressing opinions or feelings and in narrating short stories or event. And for level 6, they display very good ability to communicate and give information clearly and provides good response in expressing opinions or feelings and in narrating short stories and event.
Right, Teacher Kohila, I think what you have shared with us in PBD, in English for Communication, it's very comprehensive. The learning standards that we have is very comprehensive, as well as a very meticulous performance measurements that we have in here to measure our students' performances, right?
Yes.
So we're going to take a short break right now. Please continue to stay with us. There's a bit more for us to share, so do not go anywhere. Stay tuned with us on Didik TV KPM. Hello everyone, you are now watching Didik TV KPM. We are in the slot of Pentaksiran Bilik Darjah, which is PBD, and the topic today that we are learning is PBD in English for communications. And with me is teacher Kohila to share more about it.
Thank
Teacher
you,
Kohila,
Hani.
I'm sure you have a bit more to share with us on this topic.
Yes, now I'm going to explain about recording and reporting. So once we have gathered all the information at the end of the lesson, we can finally do the recording. So there are many ways to actually record and report your PBD, but this is my favorite way to record my levels or the grades. So I usually use forms and checklists. So you can have one form for one student, or you can have one form for all the students. So at the end of the lesson, you can jot down the points or the grade or the level of the student in the forms or the checklist. And the second one, I love using pictures or videos. Because sometimes when you take videos, you can see their progress along the way. So usually I'll use pictures to record their levels as well, to assess them. And finally, the PBD report. So this PBD report, we are required to do it twice a year. So in this PBD report, as you can see 4 skills. So for each skills, we have to give them levels, like which level is this students is. So we have to write their levels at the PBD report. Okay, it looks like this is what I have for now.
All right, Teacher Kohila, I think what we learned today is very interesting. And when we look at the PBD report, I think it's a very good way for us to have an objective measurement.
Yes.
Also for future reference.
Yes, right.
Right.
Yes.
With that, definitely we would like to thank Teacher Kohila for the very interesting lesson that we learned today on PBD in English for communications. Thank you so much, Teacher Kohila.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
think it's a
Hani.
very comprehensive manner with learning standards and a very strong and meticulous objective measurements that we have there.
Thank you for having me here.
Yes, it's our pleasure. And of course to our sign language interpreter, which is Teacher Colina. Thank you so much, Teacher Colina, for being with us today. And to our pupils at home, I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and I'm sure you managed to learn a lot as well within our episode today. And my name is Hanif Sean. I'm sure you have more to learn. Continue to stay tuned with us on Didik TV KPM. Hope to see you again. Bye everyone.